Havana, 1972. One day, sitting in his bath, smoking, Fidel Castro, president of Cuba, shook his head so vehemently in contempt at some misadventure of the U.S. State Department that a small child fell out of his beard into the bubbles. "Cojones!" exclaimed the leader. "I have given birth to the future. Ayúdame, cabrón," piped a tiny voice from the water. "I am the Cuban Cowboy." My name is Jorge Navarro, and I'm a performer. I go by the stage name The Cuban Cowboy, and I got a band called the Cuban Cowboys. You know, my songs are about, coming up as a Cuban in America, and my family's story and how I look at things, in regards to being Cuban and what Cuban means to me.
It was dark that night when the lights went out back home in Miami. I must have been 5 years old. My mama said a storm was coming. My papi, he lit up a candle. I could smell his whiskey breath. His shadow came over me when he turned around and he said, "Me dijo, nunca dejes una vela encendido, mijo, nunca dejes una vela encendida."
Well, my dad and my mom came over from Cuba at different times in the late 50s, early 60s. My father was trained by the CIA, first in Nicaragua for 2 years prior to the Bay of Pigs invasion, and then afterwards in the Everglades. So the CIA guys called them Cuban Cowboys. As each year went by and as it dawned on them that, nothing was going to happen and that Castro was going to stay, that creates a certain kind of environment. So this bizarre mix of uncertainty and sadness and a lot of certitude as to the way it should have happened or what should have happened afterwards is something that just runs, all throughout my music.
It's strange because he's never been in Cuba, of course, but he had the influence of his grandfather, because we divorced when he was, what, three or four, we divorced. So his grandfather was a bigger influence in his life than his father. And his grandfather was always, reminiscing and thinking, dreaming that he would go back next year.
He became a father figure to me in Miami as well as when I would visit from college. And by the time he died, my senior year of college, it was just, that's it. I had begun to relearn Spanish in my life and had begun to listen to a lot of the music that he listened to, like Benny Moré. It was just kind of like leading me on this little, trip that I've been on for almost 10 years now.
Two Cuban girls stood on the tarmac. They thought for sure they'd be coming back on New York when took my mommy's hat.
Two Cuban girls stood on a tarmac. They thought for sure that they'd be coming back. And this is true. A breeze came and knocked my mom's hat off her head, and she ran to get it. And her friend said, "No, let it go, let it go." And no, she was really stubborn. She really liked this hat. It's all, it's like one of the few things she had from Cuba. So she grabbed it and she kept it, and she still has the hat. And that hat for me was always like the symbol of everything she left and could never go back to.
When Havana was Vegas, just off the Keys, and Americanitas up in NYC were giving it up for the Mambo Keys.
I was in Gainesville, Florida. I was a doctoral candidate in bilingual education there, figuring out a way to train teachers to work with Latino students. And so I ended up coming up with this character. I ended up writing a batch of songs that went from Spanish to English as a way of modeling bilingualism.
Your solo comes after the first chorus.
I just got more into performing, and I started to perform in Gainesville locally and in coffee shops, and it kind of took a little life of its own. That'll be fun. Well, it's a strange thing, you know, to have written songs about Cuban history in a way, even though it's my family's, and not having ever gone to the island, in that, you know, so the poignancy and the immediacy of Cuba in my home as a kid was so acute, it was so there. There's a sense of Cubanismo, you know, in these folks who come here, and they never shake that, and they carry the island like my family did with them, but they carry all of its pain and all of its hopes with them now.
You see yourself, and now Abby is here.
I want to go in the next 2 years or so with my son. I do want to take my son. I want him to see old Havana as it is now. I want him to see the poverty now, not as like this, you know, limousine liberal, look at the poor people, and, you know, impart to him some sort of way at looking at life, and that, oh, we should be so fortunate and this and that. No, but just to see it, and I want to see it too.
I think I would like to go after Fidel, like to go with my children and show them, oh, I lived here, this is where I work, you know, things like that. Okay. But I don't think I would live there again. It's going to be so different. I've been here 1960, 40, it's going to be 48 years. It's a whole lifetime. I would be like a foreigner, I guess.
We didn't choose to be born anywhere, and things are complicated. As you retain two languages, you are retaining two cultures, and that it's hard to separate. And I stopped fighting it a long time ago. So that mix somehow has to be acknowledged. And for me, this is how I do it.
Thank you very much. We're the Cuban Cowboy. Yo lo veo de muchachito cargando con su carretón, el dichoso Navarrito yendo hacia el malecón. El caballero de París, he want to talk to me. Tell me not to be no maricón. El caballero de París, he want to talk to me. Tell me not to be no maricón. Yeah, yeah. Él jugaba a los caballitos ahí, perdió su dinero. El dichoso Navarrito pagó el garrotero. El caballero